need to know everything. Who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me.
Hey, my Pelicans friends and family, how are y'all doing? Welcome to the latest episode of State of the Pels, brought to you by The Know. I'm Chrissy Smith, your host. You can find me on X at Sports Chrissy. It's super simple and easy to remember because all I like to do is talk about sports and the New Orleans Pelicans. And today we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about because the Pelicans front office officially named Jamahl Mosley as the new head coach of the Pelicans. So a new era is being ushered in. Mosley arrived with his family on the private jet, looking all smooth, showing up, all smiles. It was good to see that. He looked genuinely happy, and that was solid to see to get it started off. But then the press conference officially happened, and Mosley was introduced by Joel Myers, which is phenomenal because Joel has such a great voice, and he had super great things to say about Mosley. One thing I love that he said about him was, this is a guy that could be sailing the seven seas. Like, he doesn't need to keep coaching. He can retire anytime that he wants. He's here because he wants to be here. And I think all Pelicans fans needed to hear that, because there was always just so much like, who in the world is going to want to come and take this job here? Like, it's just been a mess. It seems like 26 wins last season. You know, who's going to be excited about that? But Mosley came in and he was impressive. He did say all the right things. I don't think that was any surprise. That's the easy part to do. But the hard part is not just talking the talk, but then showing it and walking it. And he said something really interesting early on, which was, culture is built not by the words you say, but by the work you're willing to put in. I'm like, yes, like that's what is needed here by this Pelicans team. They need to stop talking the talk. Like, stop just saying all the good things that you're going to do. You know, we need to see it. It needs to go into action. And another thing Mosley said was that they're going to be unapologetically physical. Thank you. I love that. We need to be physical because when you are watching all these teams in the postseason right now, they're all super physical. Nobody's just like, meh, we'll just do our best. And he said, you can ask me whatever you want about offense, but we're going to get it done on defense. And that, to me, has been the biggest missing piece for the Pelicans lately in the past few seasons. What do we see with the Pelicans defensively all the time with them? We see just a very lackadaisical attitude of, well, if I defend on this possession, then I do, and if I don't, then I don't. We also see no real accountability being held to this team of, oh my gosh, you're not even trying here. You know, Herb Jones is the only guy out there that is giving it his all. And a lot of that is probably because his offensive numbers were down. For some reason, we have these players on the team that are so good athletically and from an offensive standpoint that then they don't really want to play defense very much. It's like, hey, I'm giving you points. Do you want me to also play defense too? That's not what we're going to be able to win games. Do you want to get to the next level or not? You look at the three teams that are in the NBA playoffs right now. They're all physical, strong defensive teams. And that's what Mosley did with the Magic. He took them from winning 21 games in a season to last season being the number 2 defensive team. And if they would not have lost their best player, they probably would have beat the Pistons. And I think if they would have beat the Pistons in the playoffs, then they would have beaten the Cavs, because the Cavs didn't look very good at all against the Knicks, and now they're out of it. Now, we've got Josh Hart and Jose Alvarado going to the NBA Finals, so props to them. Great. I just want to see Pelicans on the jersey going to the playoffs next year. I don't care who's in the jersey at this point. But what I want to see is a requirement for defense to be a focal point, because if you are struggling offensively, you can still play solid, amazing, incredible defense. You've got a player like Trey Murphy, who's fantastic from the three-point line. He's grown his game so much. Why isn't he on an all-defensive team ever? He's not even in the stats for it. He's got the length. He's got the athleticism. He's got everything you could possibly want. That's just effort. And I get it. It's hard. Defense is the harder thing to play. But when I was playing basketball in college, there would be practices where I would have a player that was more athletic than me, one of my teammates, and they would be giving 50% of an effort. And I'm out there giving 110% because that's how I'm wired. I don't know how to do it any less than that. And it was insanely frustrating to have people on my team who weren't doing everything that they possibly could and giving it all that they possibly could. You cannot tell me that there are not guys on this Pelicans team that have been feeling that way about teammates that they've had on this team. This is still a relatively young team because Zion's going into year 8. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, they've been in the league for 4 and 5 years. You've got rookies, Micah Peavy, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. These 3 guys, they've one season that they've been around. Sadiq Bey, he's been around for several years. I don't think you ever have to talk him into giving his all, though, with everything. That man is on a mission to stay in this league as long as he can. But it was interesting to me that the 3 rookies were all at the press conference on Tuesday. Every one of them was there. And so that tells me that they're ready. They're not in these bad habits right now. They're not in them. That's going to be harder for the other guys to break because it's just been accepted. Okay, well, you don't have to get back on defense. Or what do we see? Switching every screen all the time. Switching every screen is lazy because then you know that you're going to have a mismatch here and there and you don't care. You're just like, okay, well, I didn't fight through the screen. That just gave up 2 points. I mean, you said switch the screens. That is a laziness. You have got to know your personnel and know who are we switching on, who are we not going to switch on. And that's something that Mosley said is a non-negotiable. Defense and working hard are non-negotiables. And I just am hoping that he sticks to his guns on that. So once the press conference was fairly close to being over, they did interview Joe Dumars. And, I think the jury's still out on Dumars and what does everybody think about him at this point. And just because it's early and it's like, what are you going to do with this team? But he said 2 things that I thought were interesting. One, he said that he did not want to have to convince any coach to come here and coach this team. And he said that he didn't have to do that with Mosley at all. And he said that he mentioned that to everybody that they interviewed, which I wondered if he said it just to put the tidbit out there that maybe, when there were other coaches that they were interested in, because remember, Mosley just got fired from the Magic. So it's not like there's been this whole time where they could have really been considering him even. And he said that he told everybody that I don't want to convince you to come to New Orleans. And he didn't have to with Mosley. And that is something that I was really glad to see. And I felt like you could see that on the smile on Mosley's face the whole time. Like, this is genuinely where he wants to be. I think he knew what he was taking over with the Magic. And now he's like, I think I can do even more with the Pelicans. Great. That's what I want to see. But the other interesting thing was that Dumars said he is open to any and all conversations surrounding players, possible moves, trades, things like that. He said, anything that comes across my desk, I'm going to look at. And of course, you would expect anybody to say that. But I do wonder if Mosley coming in with this very defensive-minded strategy, if some of the players on the team are thinking, this is going to be harder than what it's been for me since I've been in the league. Do I want to put in this much effort? Can I just be enough with my offensive talent that I have? And if any of those guys are thinking that, and that's been conveyed at all to Mosley or Dumars at this point, then I would expect them to be moved, because I don't think that they're going to put up with anyone that's not going to buy into the system and what they're going to do here. Another thing I thought was interesting that Dumars mentioned was that if you're playing in any NBA game and you miss a couple of shots offensively and they pull you out the game, put you on the bench, okay, I've got to figure out my shot. Why isn't it falling? Whatever that may be. But if you're playing in a game and you knock down 2 or 3 shots and you miss 2 or 3 defensive assignments at the same time, and then you get pulled out of the game and put on the bench, right then and there that not getting back and doing what you're supposed to do defensively is going to be unacceptable on this team. That's the message that's going to be conveyed immediately to you. And so if the Pelicans players know that this is just the baseline standard of what has to take place next season, then they either need to get it in their mind right now that they're going to be working harder than they've ever worked, because defense is not fun. It's fun when it turns into offense. It's not fun initially. Or I think any pieces that get moved this offseason are going to come from guys that don't want to buy into that defensive-minded system. Mosley was very clear from the very beginning of the press conference. We're getting this done defensively. So, it's his way or the highway, and that's what he was saying. I hope that the guys that we've been writing this out with for years are willing to get on board because I think it can work. And the other thing is, like I just said, defense turns into offense all of the time. There's no easier basket to score than a fast break dunk. And that comes from steals on the other end of the floor. You've just got to put in that other work. So the offensive numbers are still going to come, but they're going to come faster and at a quicker pace when you've got defense working for you too. When offensively, you're one of the fewest 3-point attempting teams in the NBA. You have to do something else. So you have to create points other way if you're going to keep the roster the exact same way. So as I am typically a very positive person, but I did feel better than I was expecting after I heard what he had to say. Now, another interesting thing is that Mosley is bringing over several of the assistant coaches from the Magic. So we knew that they had announced God Shamgod was coming over. By the way, if you didn't know, that is his real name. His real name is God Shamgod. He went by a different name when he was in high school, just because what an odd name he had. But then when he went to college where he was going to play, they told him, you have to go by your legal name or it's $600 to change it. And he was like, I'm not spending that kind of money. So he went back to God Shamgod. That is literally his real name. But so he's here and he's going to really be like a combo of player development, in game, like planning, things like that. Okay. So we'll see him really being very important to this staff here. Also, they brought in Brett Bryomayer, I believe is his name, and he's going to be coordinating the offense. Okay. Then Dale Osborne, he's going to be on the defensive side of things. I really want to look into him and see what his background is because I'm not too familiar with him, but I have heard really good things about him. And then head of player development is going to be Randy Gregory. So these guys, so you've got 4 assistant coaches coming over with Mosley. And I think what their plan is to rinse and repeat what they did in Orlando. And I don't have a problem with any of that because what happened in Orlando would be best case scenario for the Pelicans right now. The best case is you get to 500, you make the playoffs. That would be a huge win to turn that around if they can do it in one season. And like I said, I think that Mosley feels like there's more talent on the Pelicans than what he originally had with the Magic. And look what he was able to do. And if you're unfamiliar, he was a coach with the Magic for 5 years. And in the last 3 years, they played 500 ball or better, and they made the playoffs all 3 years. They also were knocked out of the playoffs in the first round all 3 years. And so I think that that's something that Mosley's going to have to look at himself and say, what are we doing wrong when we get here? But all I'm focused on right now is get to 500 ball and get to the playoffs. And then we'll worry about the rest. We can complain about getting knocked out in the first round after we make it there. But until we can get there, until we can get a winning record, I don't have any complaints on that. Just at least do the bare minimum of what you've been doing with the Orlando Magic. And we're going to have a much happier season. We're going to have a lot of happier fans, happier days to go around. And I think that would be the best case scenario at this point. And then we'll figure out, okay, how do we win an NBA championship after we can get to the playoffs a couple times? But until we can get there, we can't talk about much more. So great press conference. I felt like, I think things are moving in the right direction. I think another key is that everybody's healthy on the Pelicans right now. You've got Zion playing 72 games last season. Great year for him. He wants to play more than that this year. Perfect. You got a healthy DeJounte Murray. This dude is posting every day. He is in the gym working on himself. You see the other guys working on themselves at the gym right now. And we're not even in, none of this is mandatory. All of this is just trying to get better because everyone is healthy. Herb Jones is healthy. Trey Murphy's healthy. Jeremiah Fears. All of our rookies are healthy. I mean, when is the last time you can remember an off season where every single person, including Zion, was healthy? I'll wait because it's been a long time. And we have that now. So it feels like with the health of the team, fully healthy, with the fresh coach, this is not we're going to outscore everybody. This is what can we control? We can control our effort on defense. And we're going to focus on that. We've got some new coaches in there, a lot of other new pieces that are moving in. So I feel like this has to be a step in the right direction. It can't really get much worse. So fingers crossed, this is part of the rebuilding that we need, turning this franchise around. Hopefully it is. I could see that it is, but only time will tell. And like Mosley said himself, you can say all the words that you want, but you've got to walk it out and put in the work. And so let's see if these players are the ones willing to do it. And if they're not, they will not be around this team much longer. Maybe they'll be like Jose and seem perfectly fine getting traded to somebody else. And who wouldn't want to play in the NBA Finals? But I'll tell you one thing, Jose was getting a lot more minutes and love when he was in New Orleans than when he's been playing for the New York Knicks. So, there's a little trade-off there. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you like and subscribe, comment, and you can find me on X, as I said, Sports Chrissy, super easy. Hit me up there, ask me any questions, and we will get to them as soon as possible. Appreciate all the love from you guys. Have a great day. Bye.